I got a quick scrap wood project this time. Go into your scrap pile and pull out some pieces of wood and be making this funky clock. Let's go ahead and get started. Wow, it's kind of weird because I've gone back in time now and you've already seen the completed project and I haven't even gotten started yet. So I hope it turned out well. I guess we'll find out here in a little while. Anyway, so I'm ready to begin this clock project. I'm not really sure where I want to go, but I did a little design on Adobe Illustrator. You know, I hope it turns out something like that. I took the pieces of it and enlarged them up to full size, and just got to figure out a way of putting it all together. Now, I did pick up the clock workings. This is you can buy these at craft store. I picked this up at Michael's Crafts for about $7, and it comes with the hands and some really cheesy numbers that I'll never use. So anyways, I'll get started. I got to pick out the wood I'm going to use. I pulled out some various pieces of hardwood and exotics from my scrap bin, and it looks like a pretty good selection. I should be able to find something. So here we go. I've been kind of struggling with different ways to make this happen. This would be the face of the clock, and I want these little triangles to be inset on the edge of this face so they stick out, and as well as this long piece here going out. And so I've been coming up with all sorts of ways of cutting dados in there and just getting it way too complicated. So I think what I'm going to do is just simply make a sandwich of the different woods, and you'll see what I mean when I get going on it. So the first thing I did was cut up, this is the Brazilian cherry, and I sliced the board down the middle, planed it down. I've got about an 1/8 inch thickness on that, and so then what I'll do is joint these edges, make this one board, and this will be what I can cut this out of. So it's just going to be one piece with this little star pattern in the back. And then for these long arms, I've cut some pieces of walnut, and again planed all those down to an 1/8 inch thick. So just kind of making this up as I go along. Okay, so I jointed both of these edges together on my jointer, and I just wanted to show you my glue up I'm using here. These are very thin pieces of wood, obviously 1/8 inch lumber, and so I stuck a board underneath it just to get it up off the table, put some wax paper on there so it won't stick to that board, and put some cawls in on each side, and of course then clamp it up. And just to prevent it from popping up, I just tacked in a couple of small brads there, and that's fine. And even this line here, I don't have to worry about too much because that's going to be in the center of the clock where those other spines are going to go. But you'll see that more later. But for now, I think this will hold up pretty well. So now all I got to do is just wait for it to dry. The only board I had that's wide enough to fill out this circle here, which is about 5 inches, was a piece of poplar. And in my mind, poplar is just a really, really ugly wood. It's cheap, but so I don't know, I may apply some stain to it at the end and just change the color a little bit. Well, the first thing I want to do is resaw this piece of poplar, and I'll do that on the bandsaw. My planer comes with this state-of-the-art, cutting-edge dust collection system. Check this out. Okay, so now I need to cut 2 circles, and I've taken that poplar and cut it in half, and I've used a piece of carpet tape to stick them together temporarily to where I can make a couple of circles. Now, I'm not going to show you my circle cutting jig because it seems to be really controversial, and I don't really need people to complain to me. So if you're interested in how I cut circles, I have a video on YouTube posted. It's a pot holder that I made, and so you can leave all your nasty comments there. So cut a circle any way you want, and then we'll go on ahead. Well, and there you have it. I've got two perfect circles that are just the right size. I'm just going to round over one edge of each circle with a 1/4 inch round over bit on my router. If you're going to make any kind of project using a pattern, you really need to get some spray adhesive. And the way to use this stuff is just to lightly, real lightly, spray it on your pattern, and then you're going to attach it to your wood like so. I think the key here is to run it through the bandsaw really slowly and leave a little bit of the line showing. Well, there we have it. I want to make sure I get the grain going the same direction in both of these pieces. I've taken 5 of the walnut boards for those long arms, and I've put carpet tape between each of them, and I did 5 just so I'll have an extra. And now all I'm going to do is stick down the template so I can cut it out. And it's back to the bandsaw to cut it out. Well, before I separate all these pieces, I want to make sure I sand all these curves down smoothly. So what I'm doing on my table saw is cutting across using my stacked dado set, and I'm just inching my way over bit by bit to get it wide enough to where I can put these side pieces in. But I only want this to go as deep enough just to cut off the cherry here. I don't want to go into this wood. So I'm almost there now. I just got to take off a hair more. But if you keep moving your fence over a little bit at a time, and then you do one cut one way, flip it around, do the other cut the other way, it will ensure that it's all centered. With those dados cut, I can place these spines in just like so. And the reason why I cut this, or when I cut these out, I included this tab, was so I would have some gluing surface on there. Now with these spines all glued down, I can go ahead and complete my sandwich here and glue down the rear disc. What I'm doing here is cutting a hole to hold the works for the clock. Well, this may seem odd, but rather than working out a template to cut this circle to make it the right size using a router, which would be very difficult because of all these triangles, I just stuck a sanding disc in my drill press, and I'm just sanding it out to where that'll fit in there. Now I just need to make a 1/4 inch hole for the shaft. So I'm just going to apply a oil finish, Danish oil, on this clock. It doesn't need a lot of protection since it's going to be hanging on the wall. Nobody's going to be handling it, and it's certainly not going to be exposed to any of the elements. So I love using an oil finish because it goes on so quickly and you're done with it. So these workings, they just screw on there, and they're just held on with one nut down at the base of it. And it comes with its own hanger, so I'm just going to use that rather than put a separate hanger on here. This thing's real light, so it really doesn't matter. And all of the hands just press down into place, and there's a little screw that goes in on top of it. So, well, there you go. There's the finished clock, and hey, I think it turned out pretty well. So, thanks for watching.